Hi everyone, I'm Ross, founder of Siege Media, and today I want to introduce you to the third part of our ROI series on post-value ratio. So in the past, I talked about what a link is worth in your market and basically the idea of lifetime link value as a method of evaluating your market. And then we recently introduced the idea of a link value ratio to basically take that analysis and apply it to how much it costs to generate a link in your market, which can often vary depending on what space you're in. And today, we're basically going to close that funnel and think about post-value ratio. Functionally, what it costs you to generate a post that ranks and the cost of that and what that ratio should be. So Ahrefs is great, and they recently introduced something that makes this analysis relatively easy. In their top pages report, you can actually see what the average kind of traffic value is in a market. So you can use this basically looking at the total market divided by the number of pages a site has to get a general ballpark for what's possible. And if you want to be even more accurate, or at least on the strong side, you could say maybe the top five pages of Ahrefs in terms of the most valuable pages, so you don't get the riffraff at the bottom to create an average. This will give you a sense for that cost that an average page will generate. So if you're in credit cards, maybe that value might be in the 10,000 range. If you're a Podunk affiliate site, there's a chance it could be 500, or maybe you're in a space where you're doing coloring pages and you're making money off of ads, and that traffic value is probably, maybe it's 200 for that post. These are all considerations you should factor into basically how much you spend to build that piece of content. So this content kind of value ratio or page value ratio to me is similar to the link value ratio we talked about before, and you should aim to have a 10-to-1 ratio of the lifetime value of that piece of content against what it costs you to generate that content. So if you're in affiliate space and maybe your margins are tight and you have to you're generally going to make around $250 per piece of content you make. In that situation, what you'll want to do is basically take that $250 and then multiply it by 2 years. I think that's a relatively good number. It's a long timeline, but not so long. Like, to assume you're going to make 4 years worth of ROI on something in the SEO space is difficult to do. I think eHow and those kinds of companies used to do that, and you see what happened to their business models. They went in the grave for the most part because of that. So if you have the 24 times number, you're creating a math equation that gives you some strong confidence you're going to see ROI. So let's say you're making $250 a month, and you build something that actually costs you $2,000 to rank for that. So you can see, basically multiplying 250 by 24, we actually get a lifetime content value or page value of 6,000 in this situation. So we know the page value is 6,000, or lifetime page value is 6,000, and our content cost is 2,000. That's only a 3-to-1 ratio. That's not a very profitable content equation to build a long-term and efficient and high likelihood of success business. That doesn't mean you'll fail simply spending 6,000 or 2,000 to generate that $250 a month asset. It just means that the likelihood is lower. Your margins are likely tighter. It's going to be harder to scale that business. There's risk involved with building that for $2,000 when the lifetime value of that is 6,000. So for you as a business, I suggest trying to maintain a 10-to-1 equation of the lifetime page value against the cost to create that piece. So this can go both ways as well. So if you use Ahrefs to determine a market, one thing is, on average, if the general market opportunity is 3,000 a post in terms of the monthly value, and you now have the lifetime value of that, you can basically use that to inform a content strategy of how you build page templates, how you build content to make that a ROI efficient equation for your business. But on a one-off situation, if you're, say, in credit cards, or actually an example I want to show you is in Meso. So this space with very complicated names to pronounce, which I'm not going to try in this situation. I'm sure some of you are masters at this very well-known SEO keyword set. the value of a page here is often 500 plus. So actually this page that we're looking at is 1.5 million a month. That is a huge number for that page. You can see if you're generating 10,000, if it costs you 10,000 to build a page in this situation, that's totally fine because the upside is so gigantic if you believe you can beat them. But in that situation, let's say just on a very vanilla fashion, it's worth $1 million in terms of lifetime value. If it costs you 10,000 to make that, that's a 100 to 1 equation. So that's good. Obviously, you're going to run a profitable business if you can actually achieve that ratio. But one thing to keep in mind is actually if the gap is that wide, you should probably close that gap to stay competitive. So something I've seen in this space in this page that I'm showing you from the MAA Center is you can see has great UX. It's been thought through. It's very scannable. It's easy on the eyes. It has basically, they've almost certainly invested far north of 10,000 on this page. They've probably done user testing. They've probably done A/B testing. They've done massive redesigns to basically test to see if that lifted engagement. They did video. They basically brought that gap in order to not be disrupted at some point. Because if your value to basically the ROI or the cost to create that page value is that wide, even if you're not taking advantage of that, someone else will eventually do that and beat you. So you shouldn't be 100 to 1. If you are, that might be short-term positive for you, but long-term, you should at least be reinvesting in those profits to basically create the lifetime cost gap and shrink that to create a better equation that more likely cements that for you as a business. So this hopefully in full picture makes sense to you. The page value ratio of 10 to 1 in terms of the cost for you to create it versus the lifetime value. If you take the expected traffic value times 24 months, that should be 8 to 10 to 1 to feel like you're very confidently going to have a strong positive ROI from that situation. If you can broach that above 10, if you've built frameworks for your business that lowers the cost per post, which is what you should do when you realize this math is off, you can be smarter and beat your competition. You can invest in things like a nicer page template instead of the per post investment to basically offset those costs and not have to spend 6,000 or 2,000 in that review example in order to build something that's competitive. You can compete in lots of different ways, and generally scalable frameworks will allow you to bring down those costs and make these ratios work so you can have a profitable business. So I would love to hear what models you use to evaluate content and content marketing to make sure you're running profitable campaigns. So love to hear what you thought of this ratio. Please give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you liked it, and let me know what you thought in the comments. Thanks for watching.